everyone, and welcome back to Blink If You Need a Realtor. And today's guest is someone I'm so excited to have on as a guest today, and his name is Mike Murphy. Mike is the owner of Premier Generators of Texas. And I just wanted to have Mike on here to talk about whole house generators and them being the new luxury of home ownership somewhat, and all of the advantages of having one. So, Mike, if you could introduce yourself and give us an overview of your company.
No problem. Well, first, thank you for having me. This is very
Welcome.
exciting, getting to be here with you as a customer
Yes.
of one of ours. But my name's Michael Murphy. I'm the owner of Premier Generators of Texas. It's a small family-owned business right here based in Plano. I will say that we're the #1 rated Generac dealer in DFW, North Texas.
Really?
So that's a very high accolade that we've been able to achieve in the last 3 years. Kind of what makes us different. Obviously, we do generators. We're not an electrical firm and a plumbing firm that try to be everything to everyone.
Mhm.
We specialize in generators, and we want to be the very best at what we do. When I set out to do this, I said I wanted to be the Chick-fil-A of generators, or the Sewell car dealership of generators, someone that takes customer service and satisfaction to another level.
Great.
And we've been able to achieve that over the last couple of years. And I believe kind of what separated us from there's certainly other great companies out there that do generators. One is our talent. We have been very, very lucky, and we've hired the right talent, put them in the right seats on the bus that has allowed our company to grow really, really fast and be very, very good at what we do. The expertise and the experience of those people and what they brought to the table has, like I said, has allowed us to scale very, very quickly.
Great. 3 years is a lot of accomplishment to reach the level that you have.
We started at zero, and we were at the very bottom of the pecking order of the Generac dealers. And within that first year and a half, we were able to overcome and become the #1 rated dealer in DFW.
So did you see that there was a gap in the industry that kind of pushed you towards providing service after install?
Two things that kind of the home industry services is one that most contractors fall short in. Like I have kind of 3 business concepts when it comes to dealing with like in the home. One, answer your phone, right?
Yes.
Answer your phone. Very few people do that these days, but answer your phone. If it's a prospective customer, like they want to talk to someone, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
If it's a customer that you have a problem with, it's not going to get resolved. Like pick up the phone and address the issue, make it right. And the third is just, do what you say you're going to do. Show up when you say you're going to show up. And what we always say, and we explain this to all the guys and people that work there, is clean up like it's at your grandmother's house, not at your house, not at your mom's house, but your grandmother. Someone you hold.
Grandma.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah.
But as far as, I don't know if the question was what got me in the industry, or did I see I think it's a blanket statement across the industry. Is I've had people work in my house and my expectations were here. And every time they were falling short. So what did I need to do? Well, I needed to voice my expectations, but it'd been nice if that company would have understood or even asked the questions of, hey, what's it like? Like if I was coming to talk to you, like, do you have any hot buttons when someone's working in and out around your home? Like, don't go in here, or don't knock on the door and ask to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
We try to go to that level to understand our customer before we ever step foot on the property.
That's so similar to real estate too, getting to know your customer, your consumer, your client, so that the expectations are set
For sure.
and no one is disappointed
Right.
in the end. So moving on to the major reasons why you find that your customers decide to get a whole house generator.
Right. So very good question. I mean, it's kind of become a trend here since I'll call it Snowmageddon,
Yes.
2021, right? You don't know what you don't know,
Right.
right?
That was
And
awful.
5 days of being without power or rolling blackouts will drive demand.
Yes.
But the other thing that the general public might not know, there's like 4 or 5 different things that are affecting our grid, and one being I'm not going to get political on this because both of them are great, but we're decommissioning coal and natural gas plants
Okay.
at a record level. Okay. And those are the most efficient and reliable forms of producing power. And we're taking those offline, all while demand is on the rise.
From the away from the grid.
Yes, we're shifting it over to like wind, sustainable
Okay.
solar, which is great, but it's not reliable and it's not very cost effective.
Okay.
But at the same time, we're decommissioning like the things that work right now. Demand is going up.
Okay.
And why is the demand going up? Well, we have population growth.
Right.
Like here in DFW, they're predicting by 2030 that we hit 10 million people. That's a lot of people. With people comes power.
Right.
The other thing is, I mentioned the natural gas and coal, but the other thing that people might not realize, and I didn't until a year and a half ago when I introduced it into my business, was artificial intelligence, the AI. So just like the computer and the internet and the smartphone has revolutionized our life, it's changed the way we live. AI is changing the way we live every day.
Okay.
And how does that affect the grid? Well, not many people know that all that information has to be stored somewhere. It's self-teaching, right? So all that's being backed up at data centers, and data centers require an extraordinary amount of power to keep running, and they're building those at a record level.
I knew Bitcoin was drawing a lot
Mining,
of power, but
yeah,
I
mining,
didn't know about the AI.
All of that. So we have demand going up, and then what we're producing, supply is going down. I mean, it's economics. So it's not, to me, and I'm a little biased because I'm in an industry, it's not a matter of if, it's more like when it's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point. And like it or not, wherever you are on global warming and all that, our weather patterns have changed over the last several years. We see our generators running more now in the summer than we do in the winter. We've had a mild last 2 winters since 21, but the summer last year, we had generators running in June, July, August. We experienced some brownouts on the weekends when everybody comes in and they plug in at 7 o'clock at night. When they get home, they start cooking, AC's running, it's still hot during the summer. And then you might get one of those occasional windstorms that just blows out transformers, et cetera. So,
and it's so unpredictable. You never
is.
know, especially during the summer, when the power company may decide that they're going to do a controlled brownout or whatever.
That's exactly right.
Usually in the winter, it's cold, so you can prepare.
And you see the forecast coming.
Yeah, but for the summers, and that's I don't like to be hot, but I'm very, very at one with my AC, so I don't like the unpredictability of having that. So how many units do you think or I'm sure how many units you typically install annually?
Annually, it's around between 500 and 600, and that all depends on, some months are super busy, and some like April every year is kind of our down month before the storms start happening, and then it ramps back up. But between 500 and 600, we're servicing, I want to say around 2,200 generators right now in our fleet, and what that means is, after we install you, we have you on a maintenance program or on a service program where at any point, if something goes wrong with that machine, we're on it, just like your car dealerships do.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. I didn't realize that's a lot per year.
It is.
With the crew. And I don't know how many crews that you run, but that's a lot of clientele.
It is. And we also get a lot of call-ins, like people that may have gotten it installed somewhere else where they don't provide aftercare services like we do. We'll absorb those customers.
So you service those too?
We do.
Okay.
We do. We'll go out and do a site assessment, make sure it meets manufacturer specs, conditions, meets code.
Okay.
And then we'll go ahead and service it.
All right.
On our plan.
Good to know. So the more you talk, the more at ease I feel with being, one of your customers. So one of the things when I was doing the research on whole house generators is I know that there are other manufacturers, and I wanted to find out how does Generac, the company that you use or the units that you install, how do they compare to the other brands that are on the market?
Good question. And we get this quite a bit. There's basically, in the home residential market, there's basically 3 major players, right? You have Generac, you have Kohler, and you have Briggs & Stratton.
I've never heard of them.
All three very good brands.
Okay.
All three very good. But much like Coca-Cola, Kleenex, Band-Aid,
Uh-huh.
Generac has become synonymous with the product. So we often hear, "Hey, I need to get me one of those Generacs at my house."
Mhm.
So the brand has become the product,
The
right?
product itself.
I attribute that to Generac having a very, very, very good marketing department,
I've seen it.
but also being very good at what they do. And what I mean by that is they're not trying to be everything to everyone. Like I said before,
Yeah.
their solely focus is on generators, just like our sole focus is generators. You know, we're plumbers, we're electricians, but I'm not coming to unstop a drain.
Right.
Like we're a niche company that just like Generac. So we align there. And what I think that leads to is if you're a niche, you know, and you have that expertise, you're able to go deeper with what you do. You find better ways to do it. You're innovative, coming up with new solutions to problems. The thing that separates, in my mind, the Generac from the other two I mentioned is kind of the after you're installed, the warranty period. I've never had to really argue with Generac over, hey, this went wrong. We diagnosed it with this. It's under warranty. We have the parts in our warehouse. We're going to replace it, and you guys pay us back.
Okay.
Putting the customer first, where the customer, like especially in a power outage, if something happens with the machine, you don't want to put the customer in the middle of, you know,
The
a
fight
problem
between the manufacturer
and the dealer. And they do a very good job at that. They stand behind their product, and that's one of the reasons, probably the main reason that we teamed up with Generac and they teamed up with us.
Great.
Where there's a lot of alignment around that. Like, let's do what's right for the customer. You and I will sort out the pennies later.
Now, was there any special considerations that you had to go through with Generac, the company, over you wanting to provide your own service?
Yes and no. I mean, they do vet, but not to the degree that you think they would. You know, they sell through Home Depot, Lowe's, et
Right.
cetera.
Costco.
Right, Costco, Northern Tool. I mean, there's they sell to the people that supply us with our electrical parts. They're selling Generac, so it's very much a commodity. But to reach the dealer level status that we have, they've invested more in us.
Great.
So we have a very good standing with them. We meet with them monthly to try to go through some things, some issues we're seeing or feedback for them. And they always take it with a very good attitude and try their best to address it.
Okay, great. And the average lifespan of a unit, what are you saying?
You can look at it in years or hours. I prefer to look at it in hours.
Okay.
So like 3,000 hours, which would equate to, I mean,
Let me get out my
3,000 hours is what they say. But here in North Texas, I mean, if you run that generator 25 hours a year, you've had some outages. So that, I can't do the math in my head, but that's like 625 years or something, or 130 years, whatever it is.
Okay, so look at it in hours.
I like to look at it in hours.
Okay.
And we do a weekly test on those. So for our units that we install, every Wednesday at 2:00, it kicks on. We have a guy in the office that goes through and he monitors all of our generators.
All 2,200?
Yeah, if there's a red one, you start getting text or calls like, hey, we noticed something's wrong. We're going to schedule a technician to come out and look at it. And, you know, your generator's under warranty. You don't have to worry about, you're not forking out any cash or anything. This is what we do. It's that after the care.
So that diagnosis or diagnostic assessment each week is something that the next person would not receive if they got their generator.
No, they still could do that. That's something that Generac provides at the corporate level.
Okay.
But that personalized, like someone with eyes on it.
Yeah.
No. Most people are not doing that.
Okay, the public. So take into consideration if you're going to get a generator that you're going to need to tie in some service some kind of way with that. So.
And I'd say, just to add to that, one of the things that we do, there's no other company that's doing this in the generator space. So if you buy from us, we install it, you have a current warranty, and you're on our maintenance plan.
Okay.
Let's say you are in an outage and your generator's, let's say it's been running fine for 3 days, right? 2 a.m, it stops. Okay.
So you lose all
You lose
power in the
out.
house. That's
No
how you
utility
know.
power, no generator power.
Mhm.
All right. We get a notification on our system that says, hey, this generator's out of power. You'll get a phone call. Even if your generator's running in an outage, you still get a phone call for it. We call it our welfare check.
This is 2 o'clock in the morning?
2 o'clock in the morning, you will
Okay.
get a phone call. If it stops, it'll automatically notify us. You'll get a phone call. We will have a team there within an hour and a half. We activate we have this program called our storm response program.
Okay.
So we activate it. They go to the site. If they can't fix it while they're on site, and we have a van that's stock full of parts, everything that could go wrong with that generator other than an engine, we don't carry those on them,
Right.
but we have them in the warehouse. What we'll do is we'll take a generator out of our storm response program. So same size generators you have at your house, 24, 26 kW. We will bring it to your house and we will install it. Much like, think of it like this.
Emergency response team.
Exactly. It's just like you take your car into the dealership.
Yeah.
And a good dealership like Sewell, they'll say, hey, we'll give you a loaner car. You know, that's not your issue. Why should you have to suffer from it? I know that if you buy from us, you're a customer for life, and I want to take care of you. That you're not going to sing Generac praises or my company's praises is the first time you need it or when you need it. It doesn't work. So it doesn't behoove me to ignore it. We're going to make the problem right.
Especially if you're like not mechanically inclined.
For sure.
And you can't do, some troubleshooting.
Right.
During that outage to find out, what could be wrong, and then, have no support.
We did that for 4 people back in June. Like we had 1,400 generators running when that storm blew through in June, and it knocked out power for several people, like University Park, a lot of Dallas people, and Plano people. But we had 4 generators out of those, I think it was 1,400, that they ran for a couple of days, and the engines just went out.
Blew out. And
we took generators out of stock, put them out there, fired them back up, had them running within 3 to 4 hours of them losing power and us calling them. And man, they were like, I can't believe you guys did this. But that's what, when I said the Chick-fil-A and the Sewell, that's what we want to be of generators.
So that you have a happy customer.
That's exactly right.
So from the initial consultation point through to the install, what are the considerations that a homeowner needs to allow for? I know, you have to have a gas source, or something like that.
Let's kind of back up just a tad for the people that are watching this. So the idea is in their head, right? Oh,
yes.
We think we need this. Well, what happens next? Well, the first thing would be an initial phone call with them. If they reach out to us, they can go to our website, etc. Reach out to us. Someone we'll talk to you about your home. We'll ask a few vague questions about like how big is your home? How many ACs do you have? Do you have a pool? And the second thought to that question is, do you have any planned like additions, stuff that you would, like a mother-in-law suite you want to add on? Or if you don't have a pool, like if you're going to add a pool, we need to account for that when we size the generator. So you're backing that up. That's an expensive investment that you want to make sure you have some insurance on. So that phone call usually lasts 5 to 10 minutes. If you're a good candidate for it and, that's something you want to proceed with, we'll send a technician out to your house. We'll schedule a time with you. They'll go through there and first thing they'll do is they'll sit down with you at the table and understand your expectations, like what you want. And if you don't, they can kind of lead you down a path. We'll ask, whole home, or there's such things as partials. No, I only want the essentials. Like I want lights in here and plugs. And we'll weigh the cost out. And is that beneficial? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
Because the generator size doesn't really differ that much when you do that. But then if they decide to move forward, we present them with a proposal, an estimate, the contract, they sign off on it. And then we go to work behind the scenes on drawing the job.
Okay.
Permitting the job before, I'd say 3 weeks prior to this, before there was like a black hole from the time like you executed your contract to the time someone from my office called you and scheduled your install. Right. Probably a 6-week black hole.
Yes.
What we did recently is we started filming these short, like an Instagram reel or a YouTube reel, just a quick video letting the customer know where their job is at each stage. So first thing we do, we're processing the paperwork, we're drawing stuff, and then it gets submitted to the city. and then it goes into a black hole at the city, and it's in the queue for a while, and your tax dollars are hard at work there at the city,
Okay. Uh-huh.
and we're calling them, following up with them. But at every stage, you're notified via an email that goes text and email with a video of me just kind of
Okay. Yeah.
explaining where we are in that process. That process usually, best case, 4 weeks, worst case, probably 8. Some municipalities are a bit more difficult to
That
work
was my
in
next
than others.
question. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Uh-huh.
There's some out there that are way more detailed and some that are way more lax,
Okay.
but you approach them all. But anyways, back to that. It's scheduled. It gets through the permit. We reach out to you to schedule. Once we arrive, our guys are pretty good about communication. When we leave the shop, we text you and say, hey, this is what the foreman looks like. He'll address you when he gets there,
Right.
send you a little installation day roadmap. But for the most people, for the general public, 2 things to remember. It's usually a 1-day install.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, your power will be out that day. We cannot work on your house without taking down the power. And I get that question a lot. Like, how long is my power going? Yeah. How long is my power going to be out? 4 to 5 hours.
Uh-huh.
But it all depends on your electrical setup. No home is the same. I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
They are each independently different. But we treat them like they're our home, our grandma's home, like I said before.
What has been the hardest or most difficult or challenging install that you've seen? I'm sure it was an older house, maybe, but
One, there's a couple. One with long gas runs.
okay.
We had one that was like 300 feet of gas that we had to dig.
Was that acreage or?
It was up in North McKinney,
Okay.
big home.
Mhm.
The meter was way down there, and we were running a dedicated line. We had a lot of obstacles to go through. That was a challenging job, but we got it up and running. Had to
Mhm.
get the gas company involved to boost pressure up. That's what the general public, you see the commercials, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I need one of those.
And you think you just come on out,
Yeah,
set it
pop it
down,
in,
and you're
right?
good to go.
It's not a portable generator, right?
Yeah.
It's something that stays there. And it's, once you've gone through that process, as you
Mhm.
can probably attest to, it's a bit more involved than what people might think.
Amen, brother.
The homeowner's involved,
Yeah.
and also, obviously we are with the municipality and the inspections that have to happen.
Right.
So it's not like just pull it out of the truck, throw it in. But
Yeah, that's
it's
where I was. It was a rude awakening,
Right.
For the components of everything between, the utilities and then the location of where it was going to
right.
sit.
Yeah,
and-
you think, like, one of the questions like, do you have an idea of where you would like to put this?
Mhm.
And we like to hear what they're thinking. And then it's tough because most of the times that's a great spot,
Yeah.
but zoning requirements don't allow you to put it there.
Mhm.
So you have to be so many feet away from this and that, and windows.
Right.
So there's a lot to take into account.
Yeah. What I wanted to touch on too was you need a gas source.
Right.
So if someone is in a home and they don't have natural gas,
Sure.
maybe they're in a subdivision where it's just, our lots are becoming smaller and it's all electric.
Right.
It's not big enough for propane,
Right.
for a propane tank. What happens?
You'd be surprised. We've done all electric homes. Just because you have an all electric home doesn't mean you're not a candidate for a generator. There's certain things we can do with the load management to manage
Really?
around those. Oh, for sure. We've done a lot of all electric homes. If they want the whole home, it's usually a bigger generator, right?
Okay.
But we can load manage some of those big electric loads. But regarding the gas question, obviously you have to have a fuel source.
Mhm.
There's 3 types of generators. There's natural gas, liquid propane.
hmm
Both of those are the same. There's a switch on there that does
Okay.
both. And then there's a diesel generator. Obviously, natural gas in our metroplex is more prominent than
Mhm.
any other thing. But like you said, there are some subdivisions here. They might be rural or in the city that don't have natural gas. And we've come out. One thing that's nice is when I was going back being like a niche business and trying to just be an expert at generators. Well, we're a one-stop shop. There's not an electrical side, there's not a plumbing side. We're all together, so we're not having to hire a plumber to come do that or et cetera.
Right.
But we have buried many of tank in subdivisions. The lot size is extremely important because you have to be 10 feet away from your house and 10 feet away from your neighbors or your property line.
Okay. 10 feet away
10
is the
feet away.
requirement.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's across the board?
That's across the board, above ground, below ground. You have to be 10 feet away from the property line and 10 feet away from the generator or a building. So you have to have a pretty good sized lot to put that in.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you're on a 50 by 110,
That's going to be tough to do unless it's in the very back. But then you gotta think, all right, I put it back there. Is the propane tank company that's going to fill it, are they going to have enough hose on the truck? So they typically carry about 150 feet of hose on the truck. They don't like to pull more than about 120 off that 150.
so what do you mean by hose? That
The hose
the
that fills
propane.
up the tank.
Okay.
Because it's
Oh.
liquid when it goes in there.
Okay.
When you're sucking the vapor off the top of that tank
Okay.
for liquid propane.
Okay.
But that I would say, if you don't know, like, give someone like us a call, and we can send a technician out there and let us be the determination of if it's a good fit or not, since this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than it's like, oh, I'm all electric, there's no way I can get a propane tank in here, because we can figure out
Really?
some unique situations.
Okay. So, and that was my biggest question, because I thought, with these general average size lots,
Right.
that there would be no way you get a tank
Right.
on that property. So
It does make it difficult, but it's
okay,
not
so-
impossible.
Okay.
Right.
What is the difference with having diesel?
Diesel, access. I mean, they're bigger units.
Okay.
They're not as economical as the liquid propane or the natural gas units.
So we're talking about the unit itself.
Yes, ma'am.
A diesel unit
Yes,
is
ma'am.
bigger.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. And the maintenance costs. You have to treat that diesel once a year.
Mhm.
If you don't consume it every 3 years, you need to drain it, fill
Oh,
it back
boy.
up. So it becomes costly.
Yeah.
That's kind of a last resort. We see more diesel units on commercial buildings.
Okay. All righty. So on these, there is a creative way possibly for someone within a subdivision that's all electric to have a propane.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
That I didn't know. That was news.
Right.
Okay. Did I finish? Did I let you finish when you were talking about the horror stories? I know you got the 300 line of gas line.
They all kind of run together, but I mean, anytime we're like, if it's an older home that has an old meter, from the electric company, an old meter that they're not. So a lot of those homes are grandfathered in, right? So
Okay.
when we come to do something new on the house, everything else has to be brought up to code.
Okay.
So they'll have an old panel,
Mhm.
that the city won't even inspect.
Right.
They're like, we're not inspecting
Sure.
it. We don't want to be liable for
Right.
it if something happens. So you need to replace it. Same thing goes on the outside with the power company. There's an old meter there,
Mhm.
or it's fallen off. It's separated from the pipes, either underground or the weatherhead overhead. That's one things that
Mhm.
starting out, and when you don't know a lot, you learn very quickly from your mistakes. So we've been bit on that before, and had to take care of it on our dime,
Okay.
like we should have, because you're trusting us to be the expert
Mhm.
and not come to you after the fact and say, oh, we had to do this, this, and this.
Right.
Well, why didn't you know that?
Okay, so that leads me to how long during a power outage can the generator run? And I know it, depends on, certain factors, but that's what I wanted to hit on
Right.
because I'm like, I want to sit in my house, and if the power's out for 3 days, I don't want
Right.
to worry about it. I just want my generator to
Right.
work.
All right. So I'm gonna kind of back it up into 3 different. If you have a natural gas,
Okay.
as long as you have a continuous flow of natural gas, it's gonna run.
Okay.
Propane, well, it depends on the size of your tank. Okay, just like your car. I have a 25-gallon tank in my truck. I normally can get about 400 miles on it. If I'm going real fast, I might get 300 miles on it.
Okay.
That's the same as it applies to a generator. The more load you have on it, the more fuel it's going to burn, right? So if you're not running everything in your house at one time, you'll probably get on a propane tank, let's just say it's 500 gallons. They'll fill it to 400 gallons. Say you had a full tank. I'd say anywhere between 5 to 7 days running. Let's be honest with ourselves. When we're in an emergency situation, we're not running everything in the house.
Right.
We've kind of scaled back our expectations. So I always assume that it's about half the load.
Okay.
So 5 to 7 days. Same with diesel. You got to
As
have
you
fuel
said,
in the tank.
Yeah.
But a lot of questions I get was like, what should I do if it runs like more than 24 hours continuously?
Mhm.
And I fielded this call, and I'm almost I don't mean to be a smart aleck, but I'm like, it's not a human. It doesn't get tired, right?
Mhm.
Let the machine run. But then I back it up by saying, hey, they do consume oil. over, continuous running. So about every 48 hours, if it was my house, I would go out there, shut down the generator, check the oil. Looks good, or, oh, it's a little low. Put some oil in it,
Okay.
start it back up.
And
But
we're just talking regular automobile oil.
synthetic, 5-weight 30.
Okay.
And we leave you all that information. And if you're really sweet to the technician when he comes to maintain your generator,
Might leave you a little bit.
he might leave you a little quart just for a little housewarming gift.
Yeah.
But no, they're made to run.
Okay.
And like I said, one of the things that we do when your generator's running, someone's looking at it. Like I've sat there.
Back at the office.
I've sat there on my couch when a storm's running in and watched how many generators are adding every second. They're kicking on. You can tell by neighborhoods who's without power, because you'll start to get bing, 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 bing. And we just start texting. I've found in this day and age, texting, people will answer that.
Yeah.
When they see an unmarked call, it goes straight to voicemail.
Right.
So we always like to follow it with a text. Hey, we're just checking on you, making a welfare check. Let us know if anything's wrong. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Do you find that the homeowners that have to put their units in a kind of an unsecured place, let's say off of the alley, and it's
Right.
visible to the public, what have you seen them do or suggest that they do to keep it secure?
I'll say this. Out of all those generators we have installed and maintained, I've never seen one stolen. So our concrete pad weighs 400 pounds. Generator itself probably weighs another 6. It's bolted down to that pad, and there's 2 locks on each side. That keeps the honest person honest.
Right.
Obviously, they could probably jimmy in there and get in the generator. But for them stealing it, I haven't seen that. Certainly probably has happened before. I do caution people about building things around them, because these things have to breathe. You don't want to choke it off.
Right.
And we explain all that to you. You have to have 3 feet on each side of the generator and in front of it. In front of it's for access to maintain it.
Okay.
But on each side is the intake and the exhaust. And you don't want to squunch those. You don't want to cheat those where it's choking itself out, overheating, causing issues with the generator.
Okay.
But I have seen people put up like lattice or bushes, just to kind of
Screen it off.
Okay.
Okay.
As far as putting bars and locking it up, I have.
Oh, that's what I see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to ask that because I see the AC unit, the condensers out, in the neighborhood.
You certainly could do that, but it would have to be a pretty big structure going around it.
Then you have to lock it up,
Right.
too. But I ask that question because if you get someone out there and they're jimmying around with it, maybe thinking they want to steal it, then they might blow themselves up.
Right.
Because of the fuel,
Right.
So
Right.
and
If they didn't know what they're doing, for sure.
right, yeah, because the lines are underground. So,
Right.
yeah. So is there anything else that you would maybe bring up to the audience about this subject?
No,
that
I would just say, it wasn't at the forethought of my mind until something bad happened. I was in the hospital with my mom for an extended period of time, and we had Snowmageddon.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
And
no.
my wife is stuck at home with 2 young kids. Power was down. Our pool was freezing up. After that is when I was like, you know what? I had some help from my cousin. It was been in the generator business for 20 years.
Okay.
And he finally called and said, Michael, if you don't do it now, I've been on you for the last 5 years to do this. If you don't do it now, I'm coming back from Tennessee to Texas, and I'm going to do it. So started it. But I say that to say I didn't really even think I needed one until something bad like that happens.
Right.
And I wish I had the foresight to say, man, that's something. It's just an added insurance policy for my home. My home is, probably the most valuable asset that I have in our portfolio.
Exactly.
And I need to be able to protect it. I have an alarm system, sprinkler system, all that stuff, but I have nothing to back up what we need to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until then that I realized, like, man, this is a business I want to get in, and 2, I want one on my house right now.
So you got in.
I got in
Snowmageddon.
after Snowmageddon, right after that.
Oh, that was a real good impetus, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But that was a
like I said,
scary
my
time.
cousin had an ice storm in 15 up in Tennessee, and he said it changed my business. like it catapulted us to
Right.
another level. And he was like, he told me, if you don't do it, I'm coming back to Texas and I'm going to do it there.
Because he knew there was a need there.
Oh, for sure.
But what people don't realize is, okay, in the summertime, and I made a, offhand comment about I like my AC in the summertime, but in the winter, you don't have that. You get below freezing, then your pipes are bursting.
Right.
And like you said, your pool is freezing. That ice expanding is going to really mess your pool up.
Right.
And
We
whatever
spent
else that could happen.
$40,000 replacing our pool.
So you did have structural
We
damage
did.
on it.
We did. I did not have a generator then.
Oh my goodness. So
Right.
you're
And then
became your own
we had to
customer.
live until September without pool parts because no one could get pumps, etc. I ended up getting a pump from a buddy that went to a pool store in California and FedExed it to
And
me.
got it to you.
Yeah.
You had to, that
So-
was a heck of a workaround.
Like I said, the demand on our grid here in Texas is growing, while our supply is going
Diminishing.
the other way. So,
That's food for thought.
it is.
It really is.
And the CEO of Generac has said before, he was like, you Texas dealers, you're kind of in the perfect storm. You have a grid that's by yourself.
Right.
It's old. It's
Mhm.
aging. You have increased weather threats, being at Houston with hurricanes coming in, Dallas with tornadoes and wind and all that. He was like, and then, in the winter, you get these weird storms every once in a
Yes.
while.
Yes.
So we're in a unique area with a unique situation that no one has really found the solution to.
Mm-hmm.
So I would
until
urge the public to you really, I would make the decision that I'm going to protect what's important to me, my family and my home.
Mm-hmm. The aspect of not being able to have a whole house generator, what is an alternative that people can do? I know some people have a gas generator,
Right.
it's kind of smaller or
Those
whatever.
are fine.
Okay.
Those are easy to do. The key to that is don't try to do it yourself. Hire an electrician to do that.
Okay.
Because what you don't want to do, if you backdoor it and put it in there and have it wired in to fire a furnace or an AC unit or a couple of appliances, and you're wiring it into your panel,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people do this. Well, if you don't shut off the main utility feed, or you have what they require as an interlock
Okay.
that makes you shut this off to turn this on so you can backfeed it. When utility is restored and you have two sources of primary power come together in your panel, that's a problem.
So you're blowing out your whole electrical
You
system.
You could. So there's certainly, those are good options.
Mhm.
Generac sells portable generators, as well as a ton of other people that are
Yeah.
really good. They're really good solutions. We do not sell those. We certainly could. But what I have found with those is people don't maintain them. So
Okay.
they're sitting in your garage for a year,
Mhm.
then you pull it out, and that gas that's been sitting in that carburetor, it looks like chewing gum in there.
Yeah.
So it's not going to start. So if you do have one, they're great solutions. You can run, a small AC, some lights, running cords around, running your fridge. It'll certainly get you by, but just make sure you're running it at least once a month.
Okay.
Pull it out of the garage, fire it up, and make sure it runs.
Okay.
And then when
so-
you're done, drain the gas out of it. Like turn the gas
okay.
off and leave it running where it sucks all that gas out of the carburetor.
So then you can put in fresh gas.
Yep. And a
Excellent.
lot of the portables are also liquid propane and natural gas. They're tri-fuels.
Really?
So you can have gas, natural gas, or propane.
on that one unit.
On that one
So
unit.
you select whatever one
you can.
applies.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can take those camping with you.
You can, or you
RV.
have them hooked up to your home and have some propane bottles sitting there.
Oh, like the barbecue.
Exactly.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice? Now, I know you're in the North Dallas area. So all of you folks that are in or lucky enough to be in the North Dallas area that has maybe a question about a whole house generators or something like that, we've got a resource here. So folks that are in other areas, do you have counterparts, like
Sure.
say down in Houston?
I have, when that hurricane hit Houston a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
I probably fielded 50 calls from people in Southeast Texas and
Okay.
Houston areas
Mhm.
that weren't able, because of the demand was so high on the
Okay.
Houston dealers that
Uh-huh.
reached out to us. And we have nothing to gain there, right?
Yeah.
But we'll help you out. We will
Okay.
try to get you back running. And then we certainly have strategic partners set up in other cities that
Okay.
we will recommend that
Gotcha.
will treat you with the same level of service we do.
That was the
Right.
intention of that question, so that everyone will have a resource that's kind of on your
Right.
level, that they're not taking advantage or
So
left out in the cold if they
I
need
think it's
you.
important for the people that tune into this to understand where is our geographical footprint.
Okay.
So when I say North Texas, I mean we go all the way up to or all the way east to Greenville, up
Okay.
to Paris,
Okay.
and
That's
then
a
all the way
stretch.
over to Gainesville,
Okay.
back down to Weatherford,
Mm-hmm.
around to like Hyco, Glen Rose,
Really?
Cleburne,
Okay.
Corsicana, Waxahachie, working our way back around to Cedar Creek, Sulphur Springs, and then Greenville.
Okay. So you're omitting Waco. You don't go to
We
Waco.
do not go to Waco.
Okay.
We've done a few jobs down there
Mm-hmm.
in Waco. If you can't get the service you need, we'll certainly go to Waco.
Okay.
It became cost prohibitive for
Yeah.
us to go down there.
For your
It was
cruise.
taking a long time to get there with the road construction
Yeah.
and then get home that night.
Okay. So your southernmost part is going to be Cleburne.
Cleburne, Waxahachie,
Okay.
Corsicana on
That's pretty
45.
far.
It
Okay.
is far.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, we want to be that premier dealer here in North Texas,
Mhm.
and that's the footprint we kind of set out to do.
What is your normal ETA on a service call if, something is going on? Does it depend on what the problem
It
is?
does. It
Okay.
does. If it's something we can diagnose remotely,
Mhm.
we will certainly do that.
Okay.
We can do that over the phone. That's part of the reasons why we want to have eyes on you, where we
Mhm.
can see that machine, log into it, reset it if we can.
Okay.
But typical, we have 3 full-time service techs, and then we have our storm response guys that are a mixture of one service tech and then some of the install guys that come in.
Mhm.
But those 3 full-time service technicians, they run long hours. They run out at 7 and they're usually back at the shop at 6. So
Goodness.
they're doing maintenance and they're doing troubleshooting.
Okay.
Troubleshooting obviously takes more time.
Mhm.
A typical troubleshoot call usually takes 2.5 hours. Generac requires us to have what they call a parts kit, level 1, level 2.
Mhm.
We carry up to a level 2, and that basically takes into account everything except an engine and some other key bigger parts like a
Okay.
rotor or a stator.
So that ensures you have what you
Right.
need on the
Right.
vehicle.
A lot of it is just time with the voltmeter just running through and checking things.
Yeah.
That's the majority of the time. It's making sure you're diagnosing the right issue, and
Mhm.
it's not something else disguising itself as the problem.
What is the average education or experience level of your crews?
Um, our top service technician, Eric's been doing this for 40 years. I call him my generator nerd. He lives, eats, breathes, sleeps generators.
Really?
He is no doubt the smartest person I've ever met when it comes to generators.
So he's found his calling. then.
He's corrected stuff that the Generac technicians at Generac on their tech support line could not find the issue
Is
with.
that right?
Yeah.
Oh my
And
goodness.
come up with solutions on things that, I mean, it wouldn't even pop in my head. Like my mind doesn't operate like
Mhm.
that. But like I said, when we started this, I said we have been able to attract some key talent, and
Mhm.
that person is one of them.
Excellent.
And if you look at our Google reviews, and I would tell anybody, if you're vetting companies to do that, do
Okay.
your research, because
Right.
we're not all equal. I
Mhm.
will say that, and that's not me being, prideful or boasting or arrogant, but we're not. The people are what you're buying. The units you can buy from anywhere,
Mhm.
but the service and the people, and just make sure you look at the reviews on Generac.com. You can go to Dealer Locator and
Okay.
look at the reviews, and then obviously Google, Yelp,
Right.
all those services. But do your research on that.
And even if you have to call multiple companies after you do your check the reviews, do that, and so that you have a comfort level with whoever you're going to make a decision with. And I did have one client who they were almost on an acre lot. Whole house was electric. They knew that they wanted a generator, paid extra for the propane tank. The company they called put in an adequate size generator.
Right.
So they still aren't able to run the whole house when the generator's activated. So I don't know who they used or whatever,
Right.
but they weren't satisfied. So they're still having to find an alternate solution depending on the time of the year.
That comes back to understanding their expectations, which is the first thing we do when we show up with that technician
Yeah.
at your kitchen table. It's, hey, what do you want this to do?
Yeah.
If this was a perfect scenario, what would you want powered on? If it's everything, that's easy.
Right.
If it's only this stuff, well, we'll come up with a solution for that.
Yeah. And I felt really, really badly for them, but there are horror stories out there. So do your due diligence, people. If you have any questions, Mike's information is going to be scrolling along the bottom. And why don't you, tell us your company name again and your contact info.
It's Premier Generators of Texas. Our number is 214-945-2525. And our website is www.premiergeneratorsTX.com.
And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for
your
having me
time today.
It's been a pleasure.
It. I'm excited. And I'm really excited for your company, too.
Thank
and
you.
I know, you're in a good spot. And unfortunately, we have the issues that we do, but this is a great solution.
Right. Thank you.
And one other thing, I always get into the weeds about, payments and things like that. Do you have a setup for people that can either finance or pay it outright?
So 4 forms of payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cash,
Mm-hmm.
check, credit card,
Mm-hmm.
and we have financing.
Okay,
and we
great.
have at least 4 or 5 plans on that financing.
Okay.
On a typical setup, I've seen people get into a generator. We like them to put a little bit down.
Okay.
So a couple thousand down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've seen payments between $150 and $250 a month.
Okay.
I call it a cell phone bill.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. And I'm not going to get into the cost of a unit because that's going to depend on, dictated by the size of your home and what your needs are.
For sure.
But at least there's alternatives
There is.
for them to have the service and not think that, it's going to break the bank or something
Right.
like that. So it's really a good alternate, safe alternate for maintaining the, integrity of your home during inclement weather. So thanks again, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. And everyone out there, have a great day.